Hello and welcome back to Film Exaggeration.
Star Trek, one of the biggest sci-fi franchises of all time. Starting with the original series, which aired from 1966 to 1969, and continuing all the way to today with a new movie due out later this month. The Star Trek franchise is one of the best and most influential in history.
Or at least that's what I've heard. I don't know, I haven't actually watched the original series. Hello? Uh-huh. Okay, bye. Alright, apparently they want me to turn in my nerd card, but joke's on them, I already had to turn it in when I said The Last Airbender wasn't as bad as people said it was, so ha!
But I can tell you what I have seen, Star Trek the Motion Picture, which was released in 1979 after years in development hell. And it was awful. I hate Star Trek the Motion Picture. It's the perfect example of style over substance. It sucked, but it did make enough money, and so a few years later we got the first of many more Star Trek movies, Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, which despite having a much smaller budget, it actually was praised by both critics and audiences. And today it's not only regarded as the best Star Trek movie, but as one of the best science fiction movies of all time.
But can someone inexperienced with the franchise, like myself, like it as much as its fans? Well, let's find out. This is Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan.
We begin in the 23rd century, where on the USS Enterprise, Captain Saavik, played by Kirstie Alley, hears a distress signal coming from the neutral zone. So they decide to enter the neutral zone to help them, but come across a few Klingon ships who of course see them as a threat and...
Well, that was a short movie. Oh, you know it's not the end.
No, this is actually a training mission set up by now Admiral Kirk, played by William Shatner. Saavik believes the mission wasn't fair because there was no way to win, but Kirk tells her that sometimes a no-win situation is possible. Finally, my Hot Pockets are done. No, it's actually McCoy. He's here to wish Kirk a happy birthday. And due to growing older, Kirk has become more depressed, not wanting to take command of the Enterprise. And McCoy wants him to become captain again.
Well, seeing as we have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 movies left with Kirk, I'm guessing he's gonna do it.
Meanwhile, another ship is looking for a deserted planet. They almost find one, but there appears to be one tiny bit of life left on it. So Captain Terrell and Commander Chekhov beam down to see what it is. They manage to find a small shelter, and at first it appears to be deserted. But when they walk outside, they see... really tall Jawas? Actually, this is a group of people led by Khan, played by Ricardo Montalban. Chekhov seems to know him as he was marooned on a planet 15 years ago by Kirk.
Never told you how Admiral Kirk sent 70 of us into exile on this barren sand heap with only the contents of these cargo bays to sustain us.
Actually, that does seem like kind of a dick move.
Captain Kirk was your host. He repaid his hospitality by trying to steal his ship and murder him.
Oh please, I just assumed that was every other Tuesday for the Enterprise crew. Actually, let me just say this. Khan is fucking awesome. He has this intimidating voice, he has the strength to back him up, he has these weird pecs that are real but look fake, and also he's the grandpa from Spy Kids. Oh, and he can control people with these things.
You see, their young enter through the ears and wrap themselves around the cerebral cortex. This has the effect of rendering the victim extremely susceptible to suggestion.
Man, talk about an earworm. I said talk about an earworm. Hey, Editor Norty, where's my rim shot? I refuse to add one under protest that we are better than that. Then why did you add it to the script? I didn't, writer Norty did. And then, AIDS. Wait a minute, how the hell is this even happening? I don't know, did our continuity ever make that much sense?
We then see Kirk docking at the USS Enterprise, and hey, it didn't take them 20 minutes this time. Amazing!
Because Kirk needs to let everyone know he's here, but needs it subtle enough to seem more humble.
Spock shows him his trainee crew, and at first seems to be piloting the ship out of the dock. But then he wonders, let's let the trainee who's never done this before do it.
It is not logical.
Thankfully, this doesn't go the way of the Protector's first outing, although the music really does make this seem more epic than it is. Hooray! We pulled out of a parking spot! Meanwhile, Chekhov makes a call to home base saying he was ordered by Kirk to come back early. One of Khan's henchmen asks why they are going after Kirk when they now have a ship and they can travel anywhere they want. Khan explains that because Kirk left him on a planet where his wife was eventually killed, that he will... Well, how about I let him explain it?
I'll chase him round the moons of Nibia and round the Antares maelstrom and round perdition's flames before I give him up.
Alright, normally revenge isn't the answer, but you can just do whatever you want.
Kirk is worried about the Genesis device that Taro and Chekhov had on their ship, and Spock asks what Genesis is. So he shows them through this amazing CG sequence that explains that Genesis is essentially God. Like, it's God. It's a device that literally can bring a dead planet back to life. And all in a shorter amount of time than the actual God was able to.
Dear Lord, do you think we're intelligent enough to... Suppose... What if this thing we use where life already exists?
It would destroy such life in favor of its new matrix.
Whoa.
The three are called back up when another starship is spotted, and it turns out to be the ship that Khan is on. He fires at the ship, leaving the Enterprise in shambles.
Put it on screen. Do it!
Khan.
Kirk tries to trade his life for his crew, and Khan agrees, but only if he can get his plans for the Genesis. Kirk complies and starts to transfer the data.
Sir, our shields are dropping.
Fire!
Seems like kind of a shitty design flaw. You just have this dome that can easily be destroyed by a phaser.
Kirk, McCoy, and Savick beam aboard Khan's ship and find the corpses of the original crew. But thankfully, Taro and Chekhov are still alive and the mind control seems to have worn off. They contact the Enterprise and learn that there is no power and they won't be able to be beamed aboard. So they do the next best thing, beam down to the dead planet.
Phaser's down! Where's Dr. Marcus?
Wait, why did Kirk leave again if he can still beat up a guy in his physical prime?
But it turns out Taro and Chekhov are still under Khan's control and take them all hostage.
Son of a bitch!
Hey, that wasn't a red shirt. Taro and Chekhov are told to kill Kirk, but they just can't bring themselves to do it.
I tried to obey, but kill him.
Kill him, Tyrell, now!
That's actually pretty sad. I like that guy. Damn you 1980s and your PG ratings! Making me think no one was gonna shoot themselves.
So we get a while of character development, which, come on guys, you saw the first movie, right? No time for that, just gotta show us some nice effects with no attempt at story and character. And then through some circumstances, they are able to beam them all up onto the Enterprise again. And now it's time to prepare for battle.
There she is. Not so wounded as we were led to believe.
They fire at each other, killing most of Khan's crew, but also damaging the Enterprise's warp drive, with no one able to fix it due to the radiation. Eventually, the Enterprise crew gets the upper hand, and Uhura orders them to surrender. Critically injured, Khan activates the Genesis, willing to sacrifice his own life to destroy Kirk.
Scotty, I need warp speed in 3 minutes or we're all dead.
No response, Admiral.
You know what you must do, Spock. Also, are there no radiation suits on this ship? That seems like something that would be kind of important.
So Spock goes in to fix the warp drive as Khan takes his last breath.
From hell's heart,
I stab at thee. For hate's sake, I spit my last breath at thee.
This guy is one of the greatest villains I've ever seen.
Thankfully, Spock manages to fix the warp drive, and they make it out in time. But, unfortunately...
Ship. Out of danger?
Yes.
Don't grieve, Admiral. It is logical. The needs of the many outweigh
The needs of the few.
or the one. I have been, and always shall be, your friend.
Why am I getting so sad? I barely know this character, and yet I feel like I've always known him.
Live long and prosper.
Of all the souls I have encountered in my travels, his was the most human.
Also, he was one hell of a good singer.
But when they get married, before he's aware, she changes his habits, the way he combs his hair. She changes him to someone he's never been.
So they blast his body off into space as Kirk leaves us with one more captain's log.
He's really not dead. As long as we remember it.
And he's also not dead in other ways, but we'll get to that some other time. Yes.
This is just a really great old school sci-fi movie. The elaborate sets, using effects to convey even the most simple things, the creepy sound effects, it reminded me a lot of Alien. The characters are all great, the story is interesting, the villain is amazing, the acting is solid, and it has some emotional weight to it as well. I wouldn't say it's my favorite science fiction movie, but it's what we're seeing. And you don't even have to see the first movie, or the original series to understand any of it.
So we looked at what some people consider the best Star Trek movie, and next we'll be looking at what some consider the worst. See you next time. Bye.
Buried alive. Buried alive.
Ladies and gentlemen, the best piece of overacting in the history of cinema.